Alright guys, so here is another video I'm resurrecting, and this is the one everyone wanted me to bring back. Out of all the videos that were sadly lost on Vlare, there was one everyone wanted me to resurrect. And it's this one, my Ghoul School Reboot pitch. So yeah, we're gonna be doing this video. So let's talk about my Ghoul School Reboot pitch. Now, this would be a more darker series. I mean, you could still watch, kids could still watch it. It would probably be like somewhere like with this would definitely be like a Netflix show too, where you could do a little more violence, but at the same time you can still pull it back. Like, it would still have a good following for all ages. It would be something like She-Ra or something like that, where it's in that age range. So my pitch for the show would be, it's more like a monster version of X-Men, where, and yes, I do have it written down because I still have the cast and all that, so I wanted to write this all down because I knew I'd forget. So, in here, this pitch would be is that this is a school meant for monsters, and the first few episodes would focus on Tanis, who is like our eyes going in for the show. And essentially, the main characters, like Miss Grimwood's school, is made to protect monsters from humans. It's made so humans, that monsters can now, like, adapt and live in a world ruled by humans. And, basically they also go out and do missions to protect monster kind and also try to help coexistence between humans and monsters. And essentially, Tanis is accepted into the main squad of the top class of the girls, which is, of course, Sabella, Winnie, Phantasma, and Elsa. So Tanis becomes the 5th member of that group. Like I said, Tanis would be our eyes going in. We'll go a little more into her. So, yeah, I've got, like, my ideas for the characters, my voice cast right here. So, let's get into it. So, starting off, let's talk about Sabella first. Sabella would be, like, the team's leader. She would more or less be, like, the Cyclops of the team, where she's more of the Boy Scout, or Girl Scout, I should say, in this situation, where she very much follows the rules. She believes in Miss Grimwood. She has a lot of respect for her, and respect for the school and her rules, and, yeah, she's very much, like, on point with rules and, doing what's right. And usually comes to butt heads with another member, which you probably can guess which one, and we'll get to her in a moment. So, my pick for Sabella's actress, her voice actress for my pick for her would be Grey Griffin, or Grey Delisle. Grey Delisle is such a versatile voice actress, and I think she's the best part of doing accents. She's very good at doing accents. Probably because someone told me she does have a lot of Romanian in her, so, I think that would also help because obviously the character is Romanian. She's the daughter of Dracula. So my pick would be, essentially, Grey Delisle was, when I was thinking of all the voice cast, Grey Delisle for Sabella was my #1 pick. As for Sabella and her relationship to her father, Dracula, Sabella would be more like she would not have the best father-daughter relationship because Sabella realizes that her father's ambitions are very much like, oh shit, he is gonna kill a lot of people and this doesn't feel right. So that's where Sabella would be. So let's move on now to Winnie. Now, Winnie's voice actress would be AJ Michalkia. I can never pronounce that name, but for those wondering who that is, that's the voice of Stevonnie from Steven Universe, and you know her best as Catra from She-Ra. AJ does a great job with, like, these kind of tomboyish, very, like, abrasive female characters, and that's what Winnie would be in this new reboot, is that she would be if you want to go by comparison, she's the Wolverine of the group. She's the very much, like, slash and stab first, ask questions never, and she's also, like, a very more aggressive, she always butts heads about authority with Sabella. She is constantly at war with her all the time. But still has, like, a belief in the school, and also begrudgingly considers the girls her family, because her family life is no better, because her dad, she's the runt of the litter, and her father abused her. Her family was very abusive towards her for being the weak link in the chain, and she took off and found her way to Grimwood School. So that's where it would be for her. And yeah, she would be just the savage one, like usually the upstart and troublemaker. So there you go. So let's move on now to Elsa. Now, Elsa's voice actress, my pick for her, I had a lot of picks for her, but the one I was leaning towards the most was Erica Lindenberg, who most of you guys would know best as Luna and Millie from Hell of a Boss, but she's also known for doing Persona 5. I don't play Persona 5, but the main tech girl in Persona 5, that's her. And Elsa in here would be vastly different from her original show, where she's like, Dada! In here, she would be like, if we're going back, again, a lot of the inspiration came from X-Men, so the major inspiration for Elsa in here would be my inspiration for Elsa. This new version would be Beast, where Elsa would not only be the brawn of the team, but also the brain. She'd also be like the team's scientist, and always like liking to wax poetically or something. And I would also love to have it that she's constant. Whenever like she gets hurt or something, she's always like replacing body parts. Like she's constantly like, oh well, this arm's useless, rips it off, sews on another one. So she's very much like she has probably out of all of them, she has the most stable relationship with her parents. Out of all the girls, I would say that Elsa has the more stable version of her family. So Elsa would also be another member, because like I said, Elsa replaced a lot of her body parts. And originally, Elsa's name was Henry. She was created or born a guy, but as she went on in her life, he started to realize that I don't want to be a guy. So Elsa would be a trans character, where Henry replaced all of his body parts and made himself into Elsa. He replaced all of his body parts with female body parts and put his brain in this new body to make himself feel whole. So that would be the big thing with Elsa. The biggest change with Elsa is that she would be this form of gender identity and this form for the LGBTQ community. And also, like, it'd just be great because have her to be like a big, not only strong but also very sophisticated woman who never really saw herself as a boy. You know, just felt like the first body she had didn't feel right to her, and it was her replacing everything to be what she was meant to be. So that's the idea. So that was my idea for Elsa. That's probably going to be the one that everyone's going... Elsa, I wanted to talk about very early and not save for last, because I know a lot of people are going to be like, really? That's the idea? You're going to go with Elsa? And I say yes, and I'm sticking to it. So let's talk about Phantasma. So Phantasma's voice actress I picked, there was a lot. Again, I was actually very close to picking Olivia Hack. Most of you guys would know best for her for doing Rhonda in Hey Arnold and Ty Lee in Avatar. But I was very close to picking Olivia Hack, but I wanted to go with Samantha Ireland, who most of you guys would know best as Nora in Ruby. So in this iteration, Phantasma is not the daughter of the even though a lot of people say, oh, she's the daughter of the Phantom of the Opera. No, they never say Phantom of the Opera. They just say the Phantom. So in this continuity, she wouldn't be so far apart from her original self, where Phantasma would be the pun intended, life of the team. Like, she would be the soul of the team, where she would be the one, like, making all the jokes and cracking all the fun stuff. She'd be the Iceman of the team, where she would be constantly, like, making jokes or trying to lighten the situation and stuff like that. But however, she hides a lot of pain. Like, she likes to laugh on the outside, but she really just feels like garbage all the time in her, like, when she's private. And I wanted to have this storyline, you know, this overarching storyline where she constantly says, I don't know much about who I was, because obviously I was somebody, but I can't remember who I was. So, I wanted to have it in this storyline. Ghosts lose a lot of their memory depending on the amount of traumatic experience they had right when they died. If their death was super traumatic, they can't remember a lot of their life. They can remember, like, gaps of their previous life, but they can't remember how they died. So Elsa, I wanted to, like, if I could, I would do a whole episode of this mystery of Elsa's past, and it would lead to an old house. And Elsa would go to the bathroom, and that's when she remembers everything. She killed herself. Elsa committed... I mean, excuse me. Why'd I kept saying Elsa? I apologize, but basically, Phantasma goes upstairs to this house, because she keeps dreaming about it and all that. She goes upstairs and looks at the tub and is like, this is where I killed myself. This is where I committed suicide. I was dealing with depression, and I just slit my wrists and fell asleep in the tub. Yeah, and just, but like, I really wanted, like, this is something I would love, I would want to do, of talking about depression and suicide and Phantasma. I'm sorry if I kept saying Elsa. I don't know why. But Phantasma would be the one I'd really like, because I really want animation. We're just now getting into LGBT stuff, and that's great, but another thing I really want animation to do is really get into mental health, because, you know, you want to get to mental health to kids very early. So I would love, at some point, I'm glad we're finally making progress with, it took forever, but we're finally doing it, with LGBT community characters and having them be inclusive. But I'd love to see shows actually talk about mental health and depression and suicide and how that affects you and how that affects young ones. So that would be my pick. So that's what I would do with Phantasma. So there you go. So finally, to round out the girls, well, we're going to get to Grimwood and all them in a moment, but Tanis. Let's talk about Tanis for a bit. Tanis is also outside of Elsa would be the other. Tanis would also have like a okay relationship with her father, the mummy, who, don't worry, we're going to talk about the monsters in a moment, but she would basically be, Tanis would have like an okay relationship with her father. Like, there's still time to repair it. But Tanis's voice actress would be Lindsay Jones. And if we're going to compare, like, Tanis, like I said, would be our eyes going in. So she'd be like the Shadowcat or Jubilee of the team, where she's the new rookie coming in and has a lot to learn, but it wouldn't focus on her. Like, Tanis would be our eyes going in, but Tanis wouldn't be the main focus. It would be all the girls. So also Tanis would be, like I said, the rookie of the team. She's the young buck. And also, like, the soul of the team. Like, she's the glue that holds everyone together. So, there you go. That is the main cast. Let's move on to our next main character, Miss Grimwood. Now, Miss Grimwood's voice actress would be Allison Janney, who, she's done a ton of TV, West Wing, Mom, a lot of it. And she's done a lot of voice acting, too. So, and when I was thinking of a lot of voice actresses, I was there because I wanted an older voice actress, and I wanted someone with authority to their voice. And that person just came to my mind, Allison Janney. There you go. So Grimwood in this show, Miss Grimwood would be creating the school to protect monsters, and she would also be like an immortal because she experienced the horrors of man right at the forefront, because she would be a surviving witch from the Salem witch trials. And essentially, she survived the massacre of the other witches and saw for the first time that mankind is just evil. It can be its most primal. But instead of taking it out on mankind, she was actually, what stopped her from being like, oh, fuck mankind, I'm going to get my revenge. What stopped her was that a priest actually helped her escape Salem and go to, because in here, I would have that the Grimwood School was in Louisiana, like deep in the bayous. So he helped her escape further south. Like he helped her get away because he believed this isn't what, we're better than this, senselessly killing people without trials and whatnot. This isn't right. So this priest helped her escape, and that's the moment where she was like, so not all humans are bad. And she took that lesson throughout her immortality, and wanted to build this school in that honor. So there you go. And she would have some secrets to her, especially for a few characters in here. But yeah, she'd be the Xavier of the group. And finally we come to Matches, who Matches in here would be our Lockheed. It's no joke. Like, Matches would be clung to Tanis a lot. And Matches' voice actor would be D. Bradley Baker, who he's done a ton of stuff, Avatar, Ben 10, a lot of it. He's also really good at animal voices. Although you could have Frank Welker come back to voice Matches too. I would not, but the reason I said Baker was because matches in here would be a little more aggressive. He'd be more animalistic. He wouldn't be like making laughs and whatnot. He'd be more like an animal. He wouldn't be like a cartoon version. He'd be more treated like a more animalistic creature that's still growing. So let's move on now to the Callaway Cadets. Now the Callaway Cadets would be in a military school not far off, and they don't know, like, they would be a military school that the girls run into on occasion. It wouldn't be like a rivalry. It would be more like, oh, we run into these girls sometimes, and they're weird, but they're kind of cool at the same time. So, I can't remember all the voice actors, but Captain Calloway would be voiced by Steve Bloom. The reason why I wanted Steve Bloom to voice, and I think we can all go through the list of characters he's been, but Steve Bloom is Captain Calloway because I want kind of Captain Calloway to be kind of like over the top sometimes. Not evil, but kind of a jerk, and Steve Bloom can really balance being funny and serious at the same time, so he would definitely be, that's my pick. So for cadets, since I can't remember all the names, my voice actors for cadets would be Carrie Payton, voice of Cyborg, Stephen Yeun from Walking Dead and Voltron, Jeremy Shada, also from Voltron and Adventure Time, Justin Cook, great anime voice actor, and Miles Luna, of course, you guys would know him from Ruby. And that's just a handful. Those would be my picks to play various Callaway cadets. So let's talk about the main villain of the show. There would be other villains, and I'll talk about them, but the main villain of this show is, of course, Revolta. If you guys remember from the original movie, Revolta was this the Witch of the Web. She was this spider-like goblin creature who wanted to, like, take over the monster world through the girls. It was this very half-assed idea, but whatever. So in here, Revolta would be a witch who also survived a series of witch trials, but unlike Grimwood, she didn't see the good of it. She's kind of, I would revamp her to be like the Magneto. And actually, Revolta would be the one to help build the Grimwood School alongside Miss Grimwood. Like, the two of them created the school together because Grimwood met Revolta and was like, hey, you know, you're just like me. You can help me find a way to bridge the world. But Revolta's anger was just so much, it just drove her away. And her magic, and the more she tapped into, like, dark magic, the more it corrupted her and more just twisted her mind. And also, she would make deals with, like, these dark, eldritch kind of gods. It was kind of like a Rasputin thing, where the more it tainted her body, the more, like, the gods had affected her. So that's why she looks so spider-like and hideous. So my pick for the new version of Revolta would be Nika Futterman, Nika Futterman is a great voice actress. Most of you guys would know her best as Olga from Hey Arnold, and she's also doing Luna Loud in Loud House, but most of you guys would know her best as doing a villain voice in Asajj Ventress from Star Wars Clone Wars, and that's the kind of voice I would like to have, this kind of cold, like, just hissing voice she would have. That would be my number one pick for like, the moment I thought of this revamp idea for Revolta, it was going to be no one else but Nika Futterman for my pick. So let's talk about her little henchman, the Crypt Creeper. The Crypt Creeper in here would be like a plant elemental that Revolta created to be her servant and be like this little snarky asshole kind of character. I would make him like more snide. He wouldn't be like this. He wouldn't be like groveling at her feet. All like, yes, Revolta. It would be more like dumbass. Like he would be like her, like that foil for her. So my pick would be Michael Kovich, who most of you guys would know best as Angel Dust from Has Been Hotel. And that's because I want him to be like more like snarky and more like kind of an asshole and almost have like a rat trap personality to him. So there you go. So let's move on to some supporting characters like the families. So a lot of the monsters in here would be voiced by horror actors. Since we're going by just a pitch, I know this wouldn't happen in an actual idea, but this is my pitch, so I can do whatever the fuck I want. Okay? So the Wolfman would be voiced by Kane Hodder, Jason, and he would be just this straight up asshole, like this straight up, like, you know, the drunk soccer dad kind of asshole who just does not care about Winnie, and Winnie's whole thing is that she would want to beat her father and become the new alpha of her pack. Dr. Frankenstein, make a dissociation from the monster. I'm talking about Victor Frankenstein, not the Frankenstein monster. He would be voiced by Jeffrey Combs, the Reanimator himself. In this continuity, he would be considered Elsa's great-grandfather, and a lot of it would be like an origin story. I wouldn't use him a lot, because he'd be old, and he's old and gone now, so a lot of it would be like maybe a time travel episode, or like Elsa's reading her grandfather's work when she's still Henry, and, using how to use the work, how to measure body parts and use them and stuff like that, or something of that nature. But Jeffrey Combs is Dr. Frankenstein. Following that is the monster himself. The monster would be... Now, the monster in here wouldn't be like, fire! It'd be more akin to the original book, where the monster named Adam would have a personality. He'd actually be very intelligent. And the person I picked to play the Frankenstein monster would be Doug Bradley, Pinhead. And it's funny because one of the reasons why I picked it was because Doug Bradley's actually did a series of videos on his own channel on YouTube of him reading the original Mary Shelley novel. So the moment I heard that, I was like, it's perfect. He would definitely be like a cool version of the monster. And like I said, his relationship with Elsa would be very open. But at first he would be like, "Wait, you want to be a woman?" Like he would be he would be that parent who wants to be supportive of their identity, but he doesn't know how. Like he doesn't know how to do. He just doesn't know how to support her. So the bride in here would be voiced by Felissa Rose, excuse me. And Felissa Rose, most of you guys would know, is Angela from Sleepaway Camp, and she would be the very supportive one, and also trying to bridge the gap between her and her father. So there you go. So let's talk about Dracula. Now, Dracula's voice actor I picked would be Andrew Divoff, who is the Djinn from Wes Craven's Wishmaster movies. In here, Dracula would be also a supporter to Revolta, believing in her whole pro-monster movement and destroying all mankind. A lot of you would be thinking, oh, what about Crispin Freeman? Well, it's my thing, first off, and it'd be kind of redundant to have him voice Dracula twice. I'm not like that. So Dracula in here would be, very distant from his daughter, and also be put at odds a lot. And even though he's like, hey, you should follow in the family business of wanting to kill every fucking human you see, so why aren't you doing that? So yeah, Dracula would be another major force that they would have to fight. So following that is the Mummy. Now the Mummy would be voiced by Tanis's father and be voiced by Tony Todd. He would be I think the Mummy how I would do the Mummy in here is that it wouldn't be Emotep, because you obviously can't do Emotep because of Universal, but essentially he would be like this great Egyptian pharaoh who always wanted a son but instead got a daughter. He still loved the kid, but he was like, oh, yay, daughter, cool, lineage, yay. But he still wants to support and love his daughter, and that would be like a bridge he would have to cross with Tanis, where it would be... And he's also kind of I would also have that he is also kind of on the pro-monster side, when they're all brought together, because the Wolfman would be like, yeah, let's fucking kill all the humans. Frankenstein the monster and his bride would be like, hey, this is a little too extreme. I don't like humans, but, this is a little too extreme, Revolta. I'm a bounce. And the Mummy is kind of like he's known as the pharaoh. He would be once a great pharaoh, and he would be kind of I don't know, because at one point or another we were all humans, right? We were all humans, but at the same time, humans do some shitty things, and maybe we need to step in and stop them before they do something really shitty. So he's kind of half in, half out about it. So next up on the parent monster list is the Phantom, who is not the Phantom of the Opera. I want to make that distinction real quick. Where in here, the Phantom is like the adopted father of Phantasma. He found her in purgatory and raised her as his own. And the voice actor I picked for the Phantom is Robert Englund, Mr. Freddy Krueger himself. Why did I pick Englund to voice such this character? Because I think it'd be nice to give him a friendly role, and he has had roles where he hasn't played horror characters and just generally sweet people, and he's a generally sweet human being. So I'd like to play off that and not have him be a villain, just be a regular dude, and also like the fun parent, And also be the one, like, when Phantasma finds out about her previous life suicide, he'd be the one to comfort her and all that. So, there you go. So let's talk about some other quick villains in here. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So in this storyline, in this continuity, this would be the grandson of the great-grandson, or ancestor, I guess you could say, of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And in here, Dr. Jekyll would be voiced by Doug Jones, who, if you guys have seen Del Toro movies, you know who Doug Jones is. But this Jekyll is like, he would pretend to be like a friend to the girls and trying to help them find his grandfather's research, his ancestors' research for the Hyde formula. But really, he's like, listen, my research has been kind of hitting a wall, and I need funding. So I kind of made a deal with military corporations to fund and make a Hyde formula. So yeah, and when he takes the Hyde, he wants to use the Hyde formula as like a super soldier serum. So yeah, not fun. And when he takes it himself, his version of Mr. Hyde is not like a Hulk, it's more like this gangly but still kind of strong character. And the person I wanted to have voice Mr. Hyde is Bill Moseley, Otis Driftwood himself, and Chop Top. Bill Moseley would just be this like foul-mouthed, just kind of like angry son of a bitch who just really wants to just fuck up these girls. Following that is the real Phantom of the Opera, where in here, it wouldn't be... I would have that there was a Phantom of the Opera back in the day, but this one is more... But that one died a long time ago. And this Phantom of the Opera is a monster hunter. This one has been trained to hunt monsters, but he uses, like, illusions and, stage performances. He doesn't use, like, magic. He's kind of like a monster hunting Mysterio, where he's using, like, tricks and whatnot to essentially get what he wants and to kill the girls. He's also a trained assassin. The voice actor I would pick for this version of the Phantom would be Tobin Bell, Jigsaw, because I think he would just have this cool kind of low tone, savage voice to him. So yeah. And finally is the Invisible Man, who in here is would be kind of like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where it's someone who's found the formula for the invisibility and takes it and wants to be like a master thief. He would be more like a gun for hire or an assassin for hire or a thief. He's just a dude for hire. He's doing this for money, but he does run into the girls several times. So the Invisible Man in here would be voiced by Brad Dourif, who most of you guys know best as Chucky. And could you just imagine, like, Brad Dourif's voice is just perfect to be over the top and wacky and insane and pull jokes all the time on people. He'd be perfect for the Invisible Man. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much my entire reboot pitch for Ghoul School. I've been talking about this for almost half an hour, so I hope you all stayed around. It was a 30-minute video, so I hope you all stayed around and watched this. This was a ton of fun to do, and like I said, a lot of you guys really, really wanted me to bring this back. Out of all the videos that we lost on Blair, this is the one you wanted me to resurrect, so I was like, yeah, I want to do this too. So, yeah, I decided, what the hell, let's do it. It was just I didn't want to do it right now because it was like it'd take me 30 minutes to do it, so What'd you guys think of this? You guys like it, hate it? Comment below, let me know. And once again, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the multiverse.